Your secondary now has, I think, 7 sacks on the season. When you're able to get that production, from them, more than just ends and linebackers, how dangerous does that make your defense?
Yeah, I think when you can make non-traditional rushers real, anytime they're at the line of scrimmage, they can be coming or they can be dropping out. So you got to honor those things, and that allows other people to get some one-on-one action. It doesn't allow you to, as an offensive line, it doesn't allow you to slide it to the people away from those non-traditional blitzers as much. I think you just have to honor those looks and make sure that everybody that's on the line of scrimmage, how it goes. Like if a guy's never blitzed and he walks up on the line of scrimmage, he's probably not real, and you can probably not count him in the slide protection. So I think that helps create one-on-ones for everybody else, and it helps disguise some of the things we want to do in coverage.
Do you have a set number of plays where you try to, put non-traditional rushers, or is it kind of a situation-by-situation basis?
It's kind of situation by situation, and we I think we do a good job of looking at how a team protects certain looks, how a team lines up to certain formations, what we're going to get from certain formations, and we know, who's important that we need to have in coverage in those formations and who's available to blitz. So I think that, our GAs, the other coaches on our staff, we do a good job of just breaking down protections and the looks, and that determines more on who we send than just I feel like, a DB needs a sack right now. Like, I don't care who gets sacks. I just like sacks.
Erik, when it comes to sacks, I think there's a perception that when it happens, it's like a dude beating another dude or a perfect play call, but how much of it is it a team? And the secondary might take some heat at times, but how much? There's also coverage sacks amongst the 29 that you've had, right? So how much of a team does it take to get some of these here?
Yeah, a lot of coverage sacks, especially last week. There's quite a few coverage sacks, and then it's a very team-oriented stat, especially the way we're doing it right now. Obviously, we got some really good edge rushers, but sometimes those guys have become the grenade a little bit and took a double team and allowed somebody else to get a sack. So it's very unselfish the way some of these are coming right now. DBs are having to play some man coverage, having to play some zero coverage, some of those kind of things in order to allow us to get those sacks. So, maybe if we played a little bit more zone coverage in rush 3, maybe we could get some more picks. Our team seems to be better when we're on the hunt a little bit and when we're aggressive pressuring the quarterback. So I think with the demeanor of our team, that's kind of where we're at. Now I'd like to get some more turnovers, some more production in that area, but kind of our formula is still being developed a little bit.
Like this, speaking of turnovers, when their defense is taking a lot away, and I know it's always important, but how big is the turnover battle on Friday?
Yeah, I think the turnover battle's huge. Obviously, last year when we played UNLV, we were able to create a couple, and I don't know if it was maybe 2. I can't remember right now. You guys will probably have the stats, but those turnovers in a big game against a really good football team can make or break you, and we know they create turnovers, and they've had a lot of block punts and things like that. So I think that if we can create a couple turnovers in this game, that will go a long ways, and everybody in this room knows that to get the ball back in the hands of Maddox and Ashton Genty is a big deal.
Just on those turnovers, Erik. Derek made a good point. Stack turnover on downs aren't recorded on the stat sheet, but you guys have plenty. Just what makes you guys so good at making those 4th down stops and winning the ball back?
Yeah, first and foremost, the kids, right? They play. They have a high sense of urgency in those situations. They play really physical in those situations, and then I think that we've put a big emphasis on Sundays in practice. Which is not like a high-intensity practice for us, but it's, a Monday practice. It's not a high-intensity practice for us, but we've put a big emphasis on short yardage and some goal line so that we can walk through those situations, we can get those fits exactly right, and then later in the week, it becomes much, much cleaner. We have done it the other way in the past, just like a lot of people have, where you're repping that later in the week because those situations come up very, very few times, and it's just not very clean, and then you got to go back and clean it up. So I think our coaches have done a good job of scripting those situations, planning those situations early in the week.
About Hodge, their quarterback, and he's got a QB efficiency rating is over 183, and he's the backup that feels like he's the one that's kind of unlocked what they can really achieve on offense almost.
Yeah, I mean, he's an experienced player. He's played a lot of football. He's very elusive in the pocket. It's going to be hard to get him on the ground. He does a really good job of, in my opinion, not doing careless things with the football. Like he knows which throws that he can make. He knows which throws that he likes to make, I think, and he's going to execute those. And if they're not there, then he's going to pull that thing down. He's going to try to get some yards, and he's going to get their team out of a bad situation. So I think he's a very smart quarterback. I think he's elusive in the pocket, and I just think he makes good decisions with the football.
Ricky White, in terms of the receivers you'll have to go up against this year, where does he rank?
Yeah, it seems like we see good ones all the time. Ricky is he's at the top of our conference for sure. I don't know. I think in our conference, kind of a cool thing is each one of these receivers is exceptional at something. I mean, Ricky looks just so smooth on film, and he has a great knack. Like when the ball's in the air, when the moment of truth comes, he's got a really great knack for making those football plays. So he's an exceptional receiver, and it's going to be a good matchup.
Him as a football player too, because I don't know how many guys with 1,500 receiving yards last year are also playing on various special teams units right now.
Yeah, it's impressive. I think he starts on 3 special teams units. And the thing that you notice about him on film is he's very calm and collective. He carries himself well. He makes a big play, back to business. Blocks a punt, back to business. So I have a lot of respect for what he does in the football field.
Spencer was just praising Shea for the way he came in and took over when Tubner got ejected there. Just, what do you see from him playing a position that, kind of he wasn't necessarily, or a role that he's not necessarily as familiar with?
Yeah, I was proud of what he did out there. Those roles are very similar, but yet very different at the same time. So he had some of the conceptual things in his memory bank, in his toolbox, but there's a lot of nuances that he had to get ready for. Coach Stockton had to get him ready in between series and at halftime. We decided what calls to run and which ones not to. And after I talked to Shea, there was not very many that we had to take off the list. So I thought he did an unbelievable job of stepping in, filling in that role, and he had some production for Alex as well.
What are some of those biggest nuances that are different between the two roles?
Kind of the dime has to play a little bit more high safety and in the box. There's just a few more jobs, whereas that nickel's more of that in space apex linebacker.
Tubner staying on the field. Spencer said got to have him hit lower. What's that dialogue been like, and feeling pretty good about it?
Yeah, I think it would be a different story if it was maybe a guy that, was a little bit untrustworthy and you thought was doing it maliciously. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Alex plays harder than everybody else in the field, period, point blank. He needs to target lower. That's period. He needs to do that. We've had that discussion. The thing about Tubes is everything we've ever asked of him, he has done. And I thought kind of the first one, was kind of the quarterback diving on the ground. It's here nor there. Like those are tough ones. The last one, we can't do it anymore, and he knows that. He understands it. He'll get that corrected. I have full confidence. The bad part about that was the rest of that rep will go on the teach tape because he played that short hole technique like nobody's business. To have it end that way was not how you draw it up. But Alex will get that corrected, and we need him on the football field.
Last year's game against UNLV. I mean, I know this obviously isn't a championship game Friday, but just a big-time game with a lot on the line, and you guys already did that at their place last year. I mean, just to have so many guys that were a big part of that, obviously, game last year, playing there again this year. Does it help at all that they've been in a part of something kind of like this? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, having guys that have played in a big game, they know how to act, they know how to prepare themselves, they know how to get themselves ready, they know how to handle the things the night before the game. They know how to handle the media. They know how to handle the social media, all the pats on the back and all those kind of things. So I think having that experience is very helpful. But it's always a new game. You know what I mean? And we've got to get ready for some things that UNLV's shown on film. I'm sure some things that they have not shown on film that we will see. And like you said, we're playing a really, really good football team. It's going to be a really good game. So it's great to have experience.
You guys on offense, you have Ashton that has all the rushing yards basically. for UNLV, it's like they're like the team that you look down and you're like, there's like 4 guys with like 60 to 80 yards, and you're like, oh damn, they have over 200. How do they run the ball so effectively like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements of triple option that go into this offense. I think the offense is it's so dynamic because there's pieces of the triple option, there's pieces of the spread, there's pieces of the zone read, there's pieces of big boy football in there. But anytime you get in those elements of triple option offense, there's a lot of guys that could potentially get their hands on the football. And I think, once again, they do a good job of making decisions with the football, when to hand it, when to keep it, when to pitch it, when to throw the RPO. So I think a lot of guys get their hands on the ball just because of the good decisions that are made.
Ahmed after the North Dakota game last year, and finally had some production, and it fed to his confidence that all the hard work was worth it. Is anything like that kind of playing out with Jaden right now?
Yeah, I think Jaden has always seen like the hard work's paying off because he's consistently got better over the last, whatever it may be, year and a half. I just think that Jaden now, finally, in my opinion, this is not Jaden's words, in my opinion, he just cut it loose. He trusted his technique. He trusted that he knew what he was doing, and he just cut it loose and played ball. And that was great to see.
I think you ended up with 9 pressures. I mean, as of last week, that was like second most in an FBS game this year. How impressive was that effort?
Yeah, super impressive. And I think those are things like that we all talked about preseason. Who else is going to step up and rush the passer with Ahmed, right? Those are things that we've seen consistently since summertime, spring, fall camp, all those things. And now he finally put it on film.
In case it happens again, too. When Tubes went out against Oregon and against Hawaii, the initial or immediate answer was going with Bowen. And then it usually lasts for a drive, and then you seem to shuffle the deck or whatever. So what kind of is the thought process there, and does it take maybe that moment in between series to figure out how much you really do have to replace an Alexander Tubes?
Yeah, no, there's a few things that go into it. First off, Bowen's done a good job. He's practiced well. He's probably a lot to ask of a real young guy that's playing on special teams and all those things. There's no excuses, but all of our guys are on the field that we probably feel like are the best players, and Rod and Shea are rotating, 2 of the better players on the defense. They can't have the green dot. So Bo's got the green dot, so he's going to go in. Then in between the next series, we can put that on Shea or we can put that on Zion. They can't have it on when Tubes is out there. And at that point, we can get them ready for some of the things like, hey, we're going to put you back out here next series. Here's the 3 calls we're going to roll with. And then the next break, we can get them caught up to speed all the way. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but that's some of the main ones.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
See you guys.